Thank you for coming. We are going to talk about the business continuity. You'll see our approach, which is a process improvement approach in order to prepare the company for business continuity, for disaster recovery. My name is Constantin Stan. I work in Enviso. There are 12 years now. Enviso I created in 2006. After working initially in France for TGVs, donc je parle français, s'il y a des personnes ici qui parlent. Then I moved to financial services in ING, then in Basel, in pharma, and then I created this company. As you can see, we covered a lot of countries during those years, and a lot of people came to us for training consultancy. I'm going to let my colleague to introduce herself, and after that we are going to present you our approach to business continuity. Actually, the very first approach that we recommend in order to attack this field. Please.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Alexandra Niculae. We will take turns on the stage because it's too small for the both of us in the same time. Yes, I'm working with continuous improvement methodologies from like more than 10 years now. And what I discovered is that you never can be prepared for everything that can happen, but you can go closer and closer with each transformation that you bring to your process. And as a background, I don't know, I have worked with these methodologies in pharma industry, in logistics, in finance and accounting, and the rules are generally applicable. So there are some exceptions, some differences, but when disaster strikes, it strikes, and it doesn't ask you what is your business, what do you do? No, it just comes and you have to deal with it. But we will see further on. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Now, looking to our customers, they have something in common. These are Enviso customers. They actually are producing the same thing, which is money. I mean, the main goal of each company is to produce money. In order to do that, first they must have some very consistent, simple, stable processes. In the end, what is a process? Could you please tell me? How do you define a process in a
input, output, with
right.
materials in between?
Exactly. And value added here. You have a customer in the end willing to pay for your activity, for your product or your service. But having a process and improving the process is sometimes very confusing. How can you do that? There are a lot of methodologies. Everyone is talking about Lean, Six Sigma, BPM, Business Process Management, Kaizen, or many others, RPA, yeah, Robotic Process Automation. Now our approach is the following, from easiest part to the more complex, more difficult, let's say, to be implemented. And once you have that, once you have the process mapped, once the BPM part is already applicable, you can start to think about process problems. How would you define a process problem? Taking into account that processes are repetitive series of actions. A process problem is a repetitive problem, coming again and again. It might be part of business continuity as well, because if the problem is serious and it comes repeatedly, you have to take action on that. So the very first step, the very first question would be, is the solution simple and known, you shouldn't start large process improvement projects if the solution is already known. It's just do it. But just do it, that means eliminate that problem. That problem never appears again. Otherwise, it's just firefighting. So when we are talking about process improvement, we should think how to eliminate these problems. And the next step, the very next step, assuming that, okay, we don't know that solution, would be this question: can the problem be solved in less than 5 days, in a week? Creating focus groups, that's the methodology Kaizen, coming from Japan. Small steps, small improvement, focus group, able to come up with the solution after 1 week of analyze, right? Then, assuming that Kaizen didn't bring results, we shouldn't punish the people who actually participated to that action, because otherwise they are going to disappear the day after, or they are not going to participate anymore in this kind of actions. So Kaizen means also a culture of possible failure. If we have a process flow problem, a cycle problem, then we should apply lean. Lean is the battle with the time, the battle with waste. There are different types of wastes, okay? Waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, everything that affects your process, and by having that, you are losing money day by day. Then, assuming that your process is lean, and I really insist on that, the process should be lean, meaning should be simplified. Every non-value add activity has to be removed as possible. We saw processes having only 9-11% value-added activities in quite performant companies. But those processes were never analyzed from this value-added point of view. Okay, assuming that you have a process which is lean, you are not wasting too much time, you are not wasting too much resources, but still you have a problem of variation, where in your output here, if you are doing what you have to do twice very well, then 3 times not so well, then again well, and you don't know the cause, then you can apply Six Sigma. I don't know if you are aware about Six Sigma, American methodology coming from Motorola and GE. And if you have a new process, let's assume that you shouldn't go through all these steps. You design process, you can design from the beginning, design for Lean Six Sigma, thinking to some measures, countermeasures, in order to avoid possible incidents, to avoid possible losses, okay? And then, of course, you can explore other methodologies. So as you can see, we start from business process management, from process mapping, and we go from the simple solution, just do it, going through Kaizen, Lean, Six Sigma, and design for Six Sigma. Why we do that? All processes have variation. It's like the universe, okay? The universe vibrates, all atoms, molecules, everything vibrates. What about your process? Is it always as you might expect? Do you consistently deliver the quality, price expected? You said no. Why?
A lot of reasons. One of which is employees,
You see.
machinery, technology.
Indeed. So an efficient process means, first of all, a simple process. Try to remove as many steps as you can. Each step could bring continuity problems. Okay? An efficient process should be predictable, less surprises, day by day or month by month surprises, even catastrophic ones. It should be easy to be measured, easy to be documented. Why? Because if you have measures and you have documentation in a very simple way, it can be communicated and it can be understood very well. Once you have that, of course, your process will be able to face the risk. But now talking about deployment, which model to use? It's not so easy when you think about how you deploy all these methodologies in order to face the risks. So first you have to think about the scale. Do I have to do it for entire organization, or only critical departments, or only by project section team? That would be a first question. Then think about organization readiness. I've shown you the customers. They are, of course, multinational companies. They are worldwide. They are producing different products or services. Same organization in different countries is facing different cultures or different past process experience with the people involved, or different management leadership styles, okay? Or different stability. All of these have to be taken into consideration when implementing a business process management system. Next, what would be the impact that you would like to have by implementing that? Is it about business transformation, the whole business transformation, meaning that organization should be widely deploying this BPM and should have a major culture change? Or your goal is just to have a strategic improvement or problem solving, and that's it. So again, here is from complex to simple when thinking about how to implement this system. And there are 4 models to be considered here: enterprise-wide, by department, targeted, or grassroots. I'm going to take them one by one to show you. Enterprise-wide, everybody, every employee is doing that. Every employee knows how to improve a process. I give you an example of GE, 4,000 people trained in order to improve the processes of GE. That means, of course, top-down driven. You need a CEO able to guide and lead this kind of transformation. But of course, you need large infrastructure, significant planning, and of course, it's very expensive. Sometimes, by department should be enough. You take the critical departments, you focus on them, not the whole organization, okay? Like these companies are doing. You can run pilot projects, and talking about deployment consideration, it's much easier to start because it's smaller scale. You are not pretending to do a major cultural change, but you at least you keep under control the critical departments, okay? Then targeted model, usually done by utilities companies. You need a strategic impact, but you don't want to transform the business. When you are running utilities companies, you need to provide the service, continuously. That's the main target. So the model is targeted model. Or In hospitals, we saw grassroots model. Some people have ideas on how to deal with different type of crisis. You don't do that at organizational level, but you have some competencies inside. Okay? Questions till now? Is it clear? Clear as mud? Or so, as I've told you, first step is this one, process performance understood. Without it, it's very, very difficult, on one hand, to do the business continuity plan, to identify the risks, everything, and on the other hand, to be sure that you covered everything. There are different types of modeling processes, and anyway, my colleague will show you one by one those types, but I insist it should be visual. Think about millennials. They are coming into market. What do you think? Do they read the 100 pages procedure or not? Not even us, no?
They watch 5 minutes craft.
Yes, yes. So they were born with the internet. Everything they need is to see an image. Most of them are unable to process a text. Okay? So even that should make you think that the business process management is the solution to describe a process. Just to be clear, I'm not against procedures, okay? But the Japanese, they are saying that a good procedure has how many pages? One. You see? He knows. Yes, it's 1 page. We use, at least in Europe, we used to write a lot. Yeah? It's not the best solution for today activity. Okay, now I'll let my colleague to explain you how we understand this part of process mapping, because communication is always a problem in nowadays in big companies, and it's very difficult to figure out who's doing what and when if you don't have good process diagrams, okay? Actually, this image is taken yesterday from Paris. But it made me feel that I'm in a corporate meeting, no? Don't you have, because every participant is living with his ideas, yeah, and no one is listening the another participant. So hopefully the BPM will solve this kind of problems too. Because I'm thinking to an organization like human body, it has different systems. These systems have to cooperate, otherwise the body is dying, okay? So let's see how we deal with business process management, okay? Please.
Okay, so why mapping processes and why not writing endless procedures? Because even if you're going on your day-to-day business, yeah, you're not being disrupted by anything, it's more easy to understand the picture, to understand a map, a logic map of your process. Imagine that something disruptive is happening. For example, we had this project in an oil factory, and it was like a procedure like this long. If fire happens, you should turn off this pipe. If this other things happen, you have to turn off this other pipe. But imagine if fire starts, you don't have time to read the procedure this long. So you have to implement a sort of color coding. And you draw a fire, and then you put a red label near to the fire, and then you just paint the pipe red, and you know fire is red, red is this pipe, turn it off. So don't waste time with reading long procedures. What is happening usually is that people start to tell their processes, to explain their processes. At first phase, we all think it's really simple. Some steps here and some steps there, and we provide the client the service or the product. But actually, when we start actually explaining the step-by-step process, it is more complicated. And we should understand step-by-step the process in order to know how to react to anything that can happen into our process. And why is a process map more important and more, it speaks to us more than a text? We have this also an exercise that we give to the candidates. It's like a written procedure. We ask the candidates to draw the map of the process. The maps of the process are completely different because we interpret the text, but if we have the other side of the exercise, like here's a map, just write the procedure. It's very easy to see the sequence of activities, to see where you have some decision points in your process. And we have more diagrams to show you. We have also the spaghetti one, but we are all good now. We had lunch. It's not a sensitive topic. So we have the SIPOC, that it's actually like a high-level map of the process. It gives us very clearly who the actors in the process are. Like who is the supplier, what input do I need, what are the main steps of my process, what do I have to send to my customers, and who are my customers. So first step, we name the process. What process am I dealing with now? After we name the process, we think, what is the first step of the process? How does my process start? And how does my process end? Who is my customer? Who's willing to pay for what I do? What is my customer expecting from me? What are the main steps that I need to perform in order to give my customer what he's asking for? What do I need for these steps to be taken? And who are my suppliers? From where do I get the information, the materials, and everything? And then I just validate my map by saying, okay, these are my suppliers, these are my customers. This is what I have to do in order to be performant, in order to make my customers happy. I don't know if it's the case, but do you have like activities in your processes, that doesn't matter the process, where no one is doing anything, thinking that the colleague is doing that particular activity, or there are like 4 or 5 people that are doing the same thing, thinking that no one else is doing it? So like those gray areas in the process. Those are dangerous. Those are dangerous because if I'm thinking that my colleague will do the presentation, for example, for today, and he thinks that I'm doing the presentation for today, we meet today at the presentation and we don't have any presentation. So you have to make things clear from process perspective. And then you go from SIPOC, where you know your actors, and clearly state who is doing what in your process and when that activity needs to happen. And it's very clear to understand your process by dividing your activities by department, by role, by responsible. So at any moment, the financial accounting knows where in the process it has to be implicated and what are those steps that the financial accounting need to perform. So actually by mapping your processes, you know the flow of activities. You know who is responsible with what activity in every moment of the process. So this is the functional deployment map, where you divide your activities by department. You have also the process walk, or the spaghetti. the use of the spaghetti can be also for information, how the information flows between your actors within your process, or you can have it for, I don't know, for material, for products, for a communication system. Because it's critical to know exactly, for example, the evacuation plan of your factory, of your premises. And we had this project for an insurance company. They said, we don't need process mapping. We have a really good business continuity plan. We will just go and take the workshop and see what's happening. You just prepare for us a scenario, and we will show you that we know how to handle it. What happened, it was that it was not a disaster, a complete disaster. They managed to do some things, but there were from moment to moment, there were questions like, okay, so why don't get this information now, quickly, at SAP? Who should I ask for that other information, and so on. And at the end of the workshop, they were, okay, so let's go back to basics and let's just map our processes, because I don't know where to go for this particular information. And if fire strikes, it doesn't wait. I need this information now. I need it from that person, and if I don't know that person, I will not get it until the fire stops. You can record the movement of the people trying to get out of the building. If they are chaotic like this, you will not make it on time. You have to make it as simple as possible. You have to put it everywhere to be visible for the people to know. You have to have a contact point for your information. Remember Danone, when they had that big scandal with the Arabic gum? They managed the situation very good because they had a very experienced person who handled the communication. So not everyone in the company was allowed to give information to the public, to the press. So it was just one single contact. And everybody in the company knew that there is that single contact, that single person that should talk with the press, with everyone. And they managed to solve very, very quick the incident. Yeah, and also you have to be fast. You have to be fast, because if you're not fast, you will not make it. And here we have another map that is called the value stream mapping. And Constantin was telling about those activities that bring value to your customer, to your business, because you want to provide your customer the best service, the best product, but if you're not able to do it, it's not a value for you either. So what do you do with the value stream mapping? You just take your process step by step, and first you measure the time you spend on activities. You don't stop here. You measure the time you spend between activities. From when I request you the information, how much time does it go until I actually receive it from you? Because this is also critical. And at the end, you just make a quick math. How much time do I spend actually working on my process, and how much time do I spend waiting for some things to happen within my process? And also I analyze the activities. Are there value added for the customer, for my business? Do they change my process? Or do I just move information from one place to another, or just move materials from one point to the other? What is the value in my process? Doing this, I'm not saying that you're going to be 100% prepared for any disaster that can happen, but it takes you closer. When you have a clear process and everyone knows how to do it, how to execute it, it will be easier for them to react. If you don't have a clue what's happening in your process, it's like, okay, let's see what happens. And I don't know, we'll see. So why process mapping? Because people can see the overall picture. everyone speaks the same language. Having a process map, having something visual for your process, it gives people a tool to talk the same language, to understand things from the same perspective. They get the idea that they are a piece in the whole process, and also how they impact the other pieces in the process. And also it establishes ownership of the process. This process is mine. I have to make it as good as possible in order for no one to suffer. And process mapping is actually something more than drawing the process. It's process modeling. It's process mapping. Yeah, it's process discovery. You discover how you do business. You make simulations with process mapping. You analyze your process, and based on that analysis, you can improve your process. You can make it faster, you can make it better, you can make it more flexible. And when it's flexible, you have time to react to everything. So the benefits are that, okay, it gives everyone a clear understanding of how the process works, even in a crisis situation. I don't know, you can think about disaster like what happened until now, but you also have to take into consideration what can happen from now on. It didn't happen until now, but what if? Am I prepared to deal with it or not? It provides consistency and controls. What should I do if something happens? And it eliminates redundancies. It sets a clear starting and ending to the process. Where should I intervene? When should I stop? Yeah, it's actually what I said is a vehicle for all the participants in the process to talk the same language. Aligns operations with business strategies. Improves process communications, increases control and consistency, improves operational efficiencies, and also it gives you competitive advantage. Because every one of you, I think, you have competitors. You want to be the top. No? No? So what does process modeling does? It's a critical tool for management and executives to guarantee that their processes are aligned with the strategy and supports the strategy. What do we want to do as a company? Oh, this. Okay, so do it like this. And it enables the process agility. It makes the process faster, capable to deal with change. Communicates changes rapidly to the people involved, and also it addresses business challenges or, I don't know, disruptions. Yeah, when you have to intervene. Improves communication. Yeah, minimizes the potential danger of loss of staff, resulting in loss of business process knowledge. If we don't have good documented processes. Imagine that, I don't know, 10 of your best employees go to your competitors. You don't have their knowledge. You don't have anything. Everything happened based on their experience. If you don't have these processes good documented, on tribal knowledge. Yeah, it sounds a bit, I don't know, but it's the truth. It's the truth. If you don't have a really clear description of your process, they are going with all the experience in some other parts. And it helps you communicate your ideas of change quickly and rapidly. You don't have to depend on people to remember how to do things, yeah, in a process. Oh, wait, I don't remember doing this. I don't remember how to do it. No, you have a documented process. You give the documentation to the participants in the process, and they will know how to do it. It will be simple for them to follow. And also it helps you to better use your resources within the company in case of a crisis, in case of a natural disaster. Or, I don't know, a disaster doesn't always mean fire or flood or earthquake. It can also mean a virus infection, server crash, or it was that movie when it happened that the whole system of the airports all over the world got blocked, and they couldn't do anything. It didn't happen until then, but okay, if it happens, what do you do? Are you prepared for this? Or it was that virus that stopped all the production lines in Renault. How do you deal with this if you're not prepared to do it? Map your processes, describe them, discover them, get to know them, because sometimes, things happened day to day, and we are overwhelmed with the volume of work that we have. We just, like, we don't want to go there, but we are forced because the market is changing so fast and we don't have time to update our processes. But when you actually implement a good business process model, you are better prepared for everything that is coming. And I don't know, you deal with it in your best way, but you first have to prepare yourself, because you have a crisis cell in your business continuity plan. Do they know what they have to do? It's easy for them to follow step by step. Do they know the steps? I mean, this is actually the question, and this is the preparation for a good business continuity management and plan and implementation.
The procedure itself, it's about Stuart Payne, famous golf player before Tiger Woods. He went with his plane from one coast to another, and he had the cabin lost of pressure. He took a procedure, the procedure written there, and it wasn't actually a checklist, it was a text. And at the end of the page, it was put your mask. Studies shown that anyone would be able, in same conditions, to survive. Because hypoxia, it installed, he lost consciousness, and the plane jumped into Nevada desert. It was actually, if we can say that, not so risky event, because if he would have jumped into a town, imagine what could happen. Good. BPMN. This is the standard of mapping. It has events like start, end, or intermediate. Start sub-process and sub-process, okay, when you are talking about end-to-end processes. Then you have flow objects, which are activities, and gateways or decision points. Then you have swim lanes. You have pool of resources. You have the lanes. We are talking about swim lanes, yeah, like the Olympic pool. You have swimmers and lanes. Then you have artifacts, which are informations helping the objects to be executed. Annotations, groups, data objects. And of course, then you have the connecting objects showing the flow in that diagram. So these are standard, it's a standardized way of mapping processes. Of course, it's more complex than that. BPMN has 120 different symbols. But at the very beginning, you shouldn't, retain them all. And talking about modeling itself, there are two types of modeling: central and, of course, decentral modeling. Central modeling, you have a dedicated modeling team. If you don't have those resources, you can go for consultants able to do that. This dedicated model create the model itself and ensure the quality of the models by having knowledge of mapping. Or decentral modeling, when you create competencies inside the organization, and those guys are able to model or map internal processes in each department. There are pros and cons of each model. I would say we do a hybrid between two, because you see costs. Few companies actually allow people to do only that, to pay, specialized people only for that 100%, full-time employees. Also, the quality is good when you have internal people dedicated, but you need high coordination. Modeling team needs time for each and every process. When you are using decentral modeling, everyone is doing his own job, but there is a risk. The end-to-end process, the links between interdepartmental processes, how they are mapped. Because everyone is knowing his cell. So the problem here with the decentral modeling is when you try to link all these small processes into the whole process, how you can see the whole process. Roles. You have here the system, all processes together. It might be useful to have a chief process officer who is responsible for the system. It might be useful to have the process consultant who participates in improvements, so he has process improvement knowledge, but also support the chief process officer. Then you have the employees. A lot of ideas are coming from them. I've told you about Just Do It. A lot of ideas, a lot of solutions are coming from inside, from operators. They know the best the process. Okay, then you have the process controller who is collecting the KPIs, the key performance indicators, and reports to the process owner. You also have the subject matter expert, SMEs or process expert, able to create the models and support the process owner. Between the consultant and subject process expert, there is always should be good communication, because one is giving methodological support, the other one is giving technical input. So if this structure is in place, then things are moving fast, and the system can be maintained.
Okay. So first you have to divide your processes by type. You have the core processes, the fundamental ones, that are the red line. Yeah? They give you money. It touches directly the customer. You have support processes. You have to have some support processes in order to deliver value to your customer. And you also have management processes. So what do? You first divide them by type of process. Then you ask yourself, okay, in support processes area, what departments do I have? What processes do I have? I'm sorry, it's in Romanian because it's from our client in Romania. And I'm going to human resources, for example, for one particular process. And in order for me to see that process, I just go and go by hyperlink, and it opens my process. I have here the roles and responsibilities. So I have Maria, who's working in this company. I have the SBC department, the candidate who applies for a job, and so on. And it's very simple for me to see what everyone is doing, what activity is done by whom. And also it's really easy to be used because it tells me it's a process start. And this one is a sub-process and activity and decision point and so on. And actually I follow the flow of the process. What can I also do? In each activity, I can write some descriptions for the activity. I have the RASI, the responsible, accountable, cooperation, and to inform. For every activity. I have documentation that I can just link with the process map, and I can open it from the process map. Maybe you can say, okay, but what if I have confidential information? It depends where I save my documents. If it's on a shared drive, everyone can open it. If it's on a location that only the human resources can access, then everyone else can just see the name of the document, and that's it. It cannot open it. You have the systems that you work with, the products, time and cost, and everything. You can make simulation about FTEs and so on. And also, because we were talking about risks and about turnover, Maria, she's involved in 20 processes in this company, but she leaves tomorrow. And John comes, yeah? So I want to see first what Maria is doing in this company. And she's a chief of service, I don't know what, yeah, there. And she's leaving tomorrow, and there comes, I don't know, John. I'm not going to, oh, it's already assigned, so we already have a John. Peter. G. Peter, yeah. And now I don't go into my system to search for all 20 processes to just put Peter's name. But when I update the working environment, so the whole company, just go and I see Peter there. And in all 20 processes where Maria was. Also, what I can do, because we were talking about risks, I can put here the risks, already existing risks, or risks that I just think of them. Okay, this can happen in my process. And I have here high, middle, and so on. And also I have controls. Yeah, what do I do in case of this risk happening? I also have KPIs, key performance indicators, that I can set a threshold for them. Yeah, like less is better, more is better, or so on. And I just set the thresholds, get my data from the database source, or for Excel, or I just manually input my data there, and automatically, let's say monthly, when I extract my data from the database, this will get a contour, like red if it's critical, green if it's good, yellow if it's I'm just at one step to the disaster. And yeah, I don't know, it makes you navigate really, really fast between your processes, because here we have a sub-process, and I don't crowd my first map with all the activities in the sub-process also. What I can do, I can just make a deep dive, and I see the sub-processes within my main process. It's, I don't know, it gives you transparency. If you want to see every link between your processes, every state of your process, if it's core, if it's fundamental, if it's support, if it's management, how do they link? What people are involved in your processes? This is one of the tools that can do it for you. It's not the only one, but it's one of the tools that can do it for you. And it's free.